Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pissed. I'm pissed off. I am. And who am I mad at? Well, I'm mad at Manny and I'm mad at Friday. I'm mad at these guys. These guys convinced me to join TikTok. Okay, so we got a new show. What it is? Thank you for coming back. Another episode. Thank you. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Okay, back to the shits. Um, there was a book that I came across while on TikTok that is being advertised to children. Now, it's a play on the ABCs. Like the ABCs didn't already have beef with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Now we have a book trying to alter the ABCs all over again. There's a video on YouTube that we're gonna watch because I had the option of reading the book, but then I'd have to buy it. So no, I didn't have that option. There's a video on YouTube of somebody reading it. So we're just gonna watch a little bit of this, and I want to just get some reactions from my boys here because as you can see, it's just the boys club today. We're gonna do it a little different, but it's gonna be nice. All right. So join in the conversation in the comments, and here we go. Come on now. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Hi, my name is Kimia, and I work for Evolve Early Learning in
Kimia?
West Asheville, North Carolina. We are a preschool, and this is one of my favorite books that I wanted to share with you today. It's called The Gay BCs, and it is by M.L. Webb. A is for arrow and ace.
What?
Words we use to say that love and attraction may be felt in many ways. B is for bi. You can shout it out loud. I like more than one gender, and that makes me proud. C is for coming out. You're ready to share what you feel deep inside. It's okay to be scared. D.
Hold on. Tracy, can I pause this for a quick second?
Okay.
Is this like available for like children or is this just like an adult book?
This is a children's book that's sold in bookstores. Like you can get this at Barnes and Noble. You can get this at Indigo. This is a book that's sold, that has been published and sold.
Is it in schools?
Well, it's an ABC book, so the direction of it is obviously directed towards children. I would guess the ages 3 to like 7. I would guess ABCs, right?
Yikes.
Let's continue. I want to get to I.
Bag. You can strut and dance in clothes that you love, dresses, heels, or pants. E is for equality. We're on the same team. We all have the right to love, hope, and dream.
I'm trying to be mature.
F is for family. Related or found, they'll stick by your side through your ups and downs. G is for gay. This word's just for you. If you like someone and you share their gender too. H is for hope. Dream up a life you'll love. The sky's the limit. Shout for the stars above.
Shoot for the stars.
I is for intersex.
There it is.
Some are born with different parts. Everybody and everybody is an amazing work of art.
Okay, we can stop it there. I first of all regret saying I didn't realize how long that was going to take, so I apologize. That actually took a while to get there. But yeah. Let me ask you guys, do you know what intersex is?
Not 100%, I wouldn't say.
No? Friday? Intersex?
Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna aim at this.
I think I get it, but I'm not 100%.
Is it like being in between two sexualities? Like transitioning?
Intersex is actually like a medical biological term. So what intersex is, it's when you're born with male and female parts. So what is typical of somebody who is intersex, you might have what is medically termed micropenis, or you might have an enlarged clitoris, or you might be a man with enlarged breasts naturally. So it's things where you're born one sex, but you have the traits of another one. You're born with it. Sometimes there's females that might have testes within their body.
What?
Yes, it's a thing. And they have to get them surgically removed and stuff like that.
So, okay, hold on. You're telling me they have a vagina, but inside of, like, let's say their intestinal area, there's like, or close to there's like,
I'm not
testicles.
exactly sure where it is. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but I do know that you can have, it's internal. It's not exterior. So it's not like you have reproductive organs of both a man and like you can get yourself pregnant.
Yeah.
It's not that. That's not what it is. But I asked you guys that question because I wanted to see if y'all knew. Because if y'all don't know what it is, and I had to look it up, imagine it being in a book for children who are ages 3 to 7. Imagine that. Now, 3 to 7-year-olds, they're learning their ABCs. I don't understand why they have to learn some of these things. B is for bi. D is for drag. For those who don't know, drag is a form of burlesque for gay men. So we're also teaching our 3 to 7-year-olds about the burlesque trade for gay men, which I don't understand why they need to know that at all either. Now, a lot of people will sit here and they'll say to me, well, Dre, it's just a 3-year-old. They're young. They probably don't understand what's going on. They have no concept of what's happening right now. Well, I found another page because I wanted to come correct on this. I want to make sure I come correct on this because I want to put a disclaimer forth. I'm going to say some hot takes very soon because we're going to get into some definite heat in a little bit. So definitely stay tuned because we're going to talk about overall how many genders there are. That's where this is overall going, okay? In case you're wondering right now. I just had to start with this just to show you the influence that they're having on children from a young age to kind of push a narrative or kind of push an objective in my mind, right? And then we'll get to it a little bit later. But I found a webpage that talks about the development of a 3-year-old, a 3 or 4-year-old. So that's the second one that I gave you Friday. It's going to be the child development at the ages of 3 to 4 years old. So we can understand what a child at that age can understand, what they don't understand. You know what I mean? Because maybe you're right. You know what? Maybe you're right. And maybe they don't understand what's being read to them. So when you say D is for drag, they think you're dragging them across the ground or something like that. Maybe you're not explaining it fully. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. Let's scroll down. Let's scroll down a little bit for me, please. A little bit. Okay, so here we go. So child development at 3 to 4 years. What's happening? So first of all, emotions. This is an important time in your child's emotional development. During this year, your child really starts to understand that their body, mind, and emotions are their own.
At 3?
At 3. Wow. Your child knows the difference between feeling happy, sad, afraid, or angry. Your child also shows fear of imaginary things, cares about how others act, and shows affection for familiar people. And as your child gets more confident, they'll also get better at handling their emotions. So for all the people sitting there that want to argue, they don't understand. They know exactly what's going on. And this is the time when they're trying to establish their own feelings about themselves and their bodies and all those other types of things. So imagine having one of these books and letting it have an impression. Now, there's a good and a bad side to this. Can you guys see the good? Manny, you see the good side of books like this?
Kind of, yeah.
What do you think a good side of a book like this could be?
I mean, there was a couple decent letters in there that like F is for family.
Right.
That's something that I guess would be important to teach someone
and
that
hope.
age. Yeah.
Right.
And then I think the one
were great.
The one after I was joy.
The
I was
immature
looking-
part of me.
I was
when
low-key
they
hoping
said the
that F
part.
was I was low-key hoping that F was a British cigarette. That's what I was low-key.
That's
what I was
That's what
low-key
I was
hoping.
expecting.
That's what I thought they were gonna go with. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, I thought every letter was gonna have something to do with a more sexual context. I didn't realize some of them were going to be like family or joy.
Well, Manny, that's attacking. Let's not do that. Let's not put all sexual on the community just like that. Okay?
Oh no, I thought it was just going to be like
it's about more
going through the different types of genders.
I
didn't know it was going to be.
What do you think, Friday? You think there's a positive that can be seen from books like this?
I understand where they are going. Like, educate your kids or somebody else will.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is like, and I don't know, sometimes I kind of, I refrain from saying this when I'm podcasting and stuff like that. I just feel like the age groups are way too low for the things that they're trying to teach these kids. Like, I watched something on the news the other day where they had like drag queens up at an elementary school doing like a whole thing. And I'm like, okay, so the equivalent on the hetero side is, are we going to have the strippers come through to the class next? If we're going to do equal opportunity for everybody, then let's get all the girls from, the brass rail to come through the class and do show and tell.
And imagine that being the letter D in this book as well. Not just that, but it's actually like they're trying to tell you about that and let you learn about what that is, even if you don't know what that is. So
I just feel like it's not relevant information when you're that young.
It's like, why do you need to know that, right? But obviously they feel they need to tell them that. This is what I feel the good is in this book. It's very insightful, very deep. The good is that they're still writing books for kids.
That's always a bonus.
It's
always a good thing.
That's all I got. It's really all I got. I'm happy about that. That's good. Now the bad. This is obviously going to be very confusing. Not just for the kids, because I think that's obvious. Everybody can see that. But this also gets confusing for parents now. For parents. Because when you have children who are these ages and they're grabbing for toys that may not be, a boy may be grabbing for the Barbie dolls, or maybe he's grabbing his mom's skirt, or maybe he's grabbing these things. Parents are now taking that as my child is identifying as a female. Before the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, just because they're showing this curiosity was what I'll call it, because that's exactly what it is. It's a curiosity for what this is. And let's be honest, a lot of things that are made for females are a lot more flashy. They're a lot more bright. They're a lot more sequin, beaded, all those type of things when it comes to clothes. So obviously, those things are going to be more attractive. Now, if you don't believe me when I say that this is affecting kids, once again, research. So I found a video of somebody's outlining a story of a parent and their child and what happened. This is the third one. It should be. The Instagram one. So this is going to be interesting. We're going to hear the full story. This is actually pretty interesting to me when I saw this, but you're going to see how this is affecting the parents as well. And we're going to see how this affects everything overall and how we're going to get to the topic here. Yeah.
Wait, I have a question. So you really haven't seen books like this before you got TikTok?
No, I never. Why am I? First of all, I don't have any children.
I've seen something similar to this like last year,
like a GBC book.
It was someone. It was faculty from a school. One member was fighting against having books specifically like those ones in the classrooms because he didn't believe that something that's considered sexual, like that community, if there's a lot of sexuality that's built into it, especially with the movement and everything. So he was like, that's not something that needs to be in classes for young kids. And he was a gay man as well. He was saying this. So that's the first time that I'm not too sure if it was this book or if it was something similar, but it was along the same line.
Well, through this, I did learn that there are other books out there that are directed towards children that have different agendas and low key are being read to children and people don't even realize. But I mean, freedom of speech, I guess. It's just about why, really, for me. But let's listen to this story that she has.
Children are able to run, walk up the stairs, jump in place, build a tower, make a scribble mark, remove their shoes, identify multiple body parts. Not all, but multiple. Understand two-step directions, play alongside other children.
This is children
put
at
2
24
or 3
months,
words
by the
together.
way.
There's this dad who has a 9-year-old. I don't know if I would call him a dad because I feel like fathers don't put their children in positions like this. And I definitely wouldn't call him a man. So there's a boy who has a kid.
Wow.
And who has a son. And he says that his son at the age of 24 months, so I just read you what children at 24 months can do. He says at that age, his child started reaching for tutus and brightly colored dresses. So he must be a girl. Who doesn't love a good tutu? And especially at that age, they're reaching for anything and they're looking for cues from you as to what's right and wrong. And now at 9 years old, the father is saying that his son will never go through puberty as a boy because he's going to keep him on hormone blockers. Hold up. This is
what?
Child abuse. So this kid can't get a tattoo, can't vote, can't get a piercing. He can't rent a car, definitely can't drive a car. He can't even adopt a puppy, but he can make a decision to live as a woman at 24 months.
So here's the thing. Obviously, the first reaction is to be angry at the parent, right? For what they're doing. And I get it. I'm angry too. That doesn't make any sense what they're doing. But then you think about how that parent was influenced. What in our world is pushing this forward? What is it that has him thinking that I don't want to go about this the wrong way? Because as a man being raised by his parents, I have a hard time assuming that his parents raised him in that type of way, to where if you grab for these things, this is what you're naturally supposed to think. I have to believe that he grew up and at some point he saw something and then he believed that if this happens, then this is the case. So I'm not trying to give him benefit of the doubt, but what I'm trying to show is that when you put an early influence on children like this, and you try to direct them in a way, it makes it not just hard for the children, but for the parents, because they're so scared of this new cancel culture, which isn't just specific to celebrities and rich people. It can happen in a regular job, because if you're accused of being anti, then, the courts are going to come for you. And when I say the courts, I mean the courts of the community is going to come for you in droves. And I feel like if we're talking about free speech and equality and all of these things, then the opposite should also be true. What do I mean when I say that? Well, if you're not following along, I'm pretty much saying that if you're allowed to preach this way for a community, for this community in this way, when you feel that these things mean this, A plus B equals C in your equation, even though it never really does. And maybe you're right in sometimes, maybe you're right in some cases, but most times, no. Then I should be able to push forth my hetero agenda, my belief in a traditional family, man, woman, child, just as equally as you can. And my pushing that should not be seen as an attack on your community just because I believe it. Just the way that when you believe something, I don't see it as an attack. Now you can go out and you can live your life and be free and do what you want. The problem I have is when somebody has a belief or chooses a lifestyle and they force that onto others. And if the others don't conform to that, then they're punished, divided, attacked, insulted. And that brings us to the overall topic. And the overall topic today is, how many genders are there? Because we live in a day and age, this is 2023. It's not as simple as it used to be. Before, you get that birth certificate and it said one of two things. You're either a male or you're a female, even when you were intersex, because they would just determine based on how many other features were common to one or the other sex. So there goes that for those people. But like I said, I wanted to come with facts on this. So I did some research and I watched YouTube videos and I went on the internet and I read articles and I did a lot more research than I ever wanted to do on this topic. But I wanted to be accurate, like I said. I wanted to come correct. I didn't want to come ignorant, right? So I have what are the main arguments for this. But before I get to that, let's answer the question. Let's ask Google. Let's ask Google. Google, how many different genders are there? Right? That's the next article that I have.
Can we take a guess first?
Yeah, definitely. How many genders? And this is just based on this article. So,
So this is the fourth link right here. Right? Okay.
The health line, yeah.
My guess, I'm going to go with 10.
10 different genders. Okay.
10 genders.
10
Yes,
genders.
I'm going
Okay.
with 10.
Manny,
I'm
what
gonna
do you got?
say I'm gonna say something wild because I think I read a similar. I'm not.
Don't pull it up yet. Don't pull it
I'm
up
not.
yet.
I'm not looking at it. I think I read a similar article, and I think it's somewhere in like the 74 range.
74?
If
Okay.
I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong.
And
But I'm just gonna take a guess.
Hey, listen. Put it in the comments. Guess before we put it up. How many genders do you think there are? And this is according to this article.
I could be way off.
All
I
right.
don't know.
So there could be more. There could be less. It is.
Wow,
what
I
it is.
can't wait to find out.
All right. Ready?
Wow.
68.
68
I was
terms
6 off.
You're
I
close.
was close.
that describe gender identity and expression. 68 genders.
That's wild.
68 genders.
Wow.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's the right answer.
That's exciting.
This poses so many problems with the amount of genders there are, but we're gonna get to that a little bit later because it's part of one of the arguments for there being multiple genders. So these are the arguments that mainly come up when you talk to somebody and they argue that there are a spectrum of genders. Okay, so first they say genitalia does not equal gender. So the sex characteristics a person is born with do not signify a person's gender identity. When people have gender reveal parties, it really should be called a genital reveal party because the concept of gender is a social construct. So that's the argument. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you feel about that? Because I'm curious about what you guys think about that. Genitalia does not equal gender.
I mean, I'd say genitalia can determine sex, and then gender can be more of a, like, what's the term? Like a label or something that as you grow and you get older and you start to realize what you like, what you don't like, then you can, like, that could be a gender identity.
Right.
But I think, like, I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer nowadays because I've read a lot of stuff about this, to be honest. And, like, a lot of people are saying different things. A lot of people say that, like, your genitals determine your sex, but not your gender. Some people say that sex and gender is synonymous. So, honestly, after doing all that research, I don't even know what the answer is.
Watch the mic go. It's making a little noise. That's a tough one because I have two minds when I want to answer this question. I have the podcaster on camera or on mic mind, and then sometimes I have my old school off mic mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But like, what's your vibe though? Like, what is
My old
has to
school
be one that's
off,
overpowering.
If I want to just give my real just gut reaction, I would just literally just say two. Okay, you're either man or woman,
Right.
And you know,
Does genitalia equal gender though?
by my standards, yes, but things have changed. So like, and more research has been done, and from the research that's been done, people believe that this is what, you know, there's 68 and genders
68
and
different genders.
you know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily mean that if you have a penis that you're a man. Like, listen, things have changed, man. I'm sorry. Like,
Okay, so this is what I say.
I'm so
in response to this.
confused.
This is what I say. No, this is because there shouldn't be any and that's the problem that I have. You see, that's what books like the one I showed at first. That's what they put into your head.
Yeah.
They put that confusion because you're not confused. You know what your heart is telling you, but because of the way society is set up right now, you're struggling to say if that's the right way to feel because
Okay.
you've been pushed so far in a different direction.
Let me interrupt you for a quick second. Part of the reason I feel like the way I feel, like even in my answers, I feel like the LGBTQIA plus community, right, is like an abusive relationship. If you say the wrong thing, the hands going up. Yo, you burnt the chicken. Smack.
Right.
Canceled.
Right.
Right? You didn't identify my gender right. Canceled. You didn't answer this question right. Canceled. So I'm like, How do I say it? Sorry.
But that's
excuse
exactly what I
me.
just said. That's exactly what I just said. You have outside influences that have you thinking that what you're saying is
crazy.
wrong, but you know what you feel in your heart, and you want to know my answer. It's very simple. Genitalia does absolutely equal gender. Let me ask you this: if you're watching right now, if I was to be standing in front of you, you had no idea, we have never met before in life, and I'm naked. I'm completely naked, so my genitalia is out. You see my body structure, my bone structure, my height, and everything like that. How are you going to identify me? It's a simple question. How are you going to identify me? And if you're trying to make it difficult, if you're trying to give alternate answers, it's very simple. You're going to say that's a male. And you're going to distinguish that. One thing that you're going to use to do that is my genitalia. Just like if a naked lady was standing in front of you, you would see her breast, you would see her vagina, and you would say to yourself, oh, that's a female. So you can't tell me genitalia does not equal gender. That is exactly what it equals. It's not the only factor that equals, but it definitely is something that defines it for 100% sure. So for somebody to say that it doesn't, just because, even if I was standing there and you looked at me and you said I was a man, and I say, hey, no, I identify as a woman, guess what? I have the body parts of a man. So that is going to define me as a man. My birth certificate is probably going to say man on it. Even when you transition from one to the other, a transgender, and the term trans in itself entails some form of a transition. So you have to transition from something to something. And usually it's from one sex to another sex. So you can't tell me that a transgender doesn't have a sex either. They chose to go from one to another one. What did they transition? They transitioned from an alien to a dog or something like that. I'm stuttering because it's so ridiculous to hear these arguments. But okay, that's the first one. So that was pretty strong. Let's move on to the next one. So the next argument is they say that people should forget about the two gender binary system, right? Gender is a term that relates to how we feel about ourselves, is what they say. So sex and gender are separate terms. Sex is more of the X chromosome, the XY chromosome. Gender now is more about how we feel about ourselves, the way we choose to express our gender through makeup, dresses, high heels, athletic shorts, sneakers, and more. Our society has convinced us that there are just two options for gender identity: male and female, based on biological sex. But in reality, there's way more fluidity. So she's saying that gender essentially is separate from sex on these things, which is, I guess if you look at it that way too, I could see what you're saying, right? But if you look at any government legal form, usually the terms gender and sex are interchangeable. In fact, by law, these terms are interchangeable, which means that legally they mean the same thing. Now you say to me, why would I take it to a legal aspect? Well, a lot of these things that we're talking about are societal standards. People want to be called the right pronouns. They want it to become a societal standard that when they are this type of gender, they are called this pronoun. Societal standards are set by law, set by the legal things that we live by every day. That lets us determine what's right, what's wrong, how much we do of something, or how little we do of something. Now, if we also believe that gender is exclusive from sex, why do we use the term gender and gender identity to explain the same thing? Now, a lot of times people, when you ask them about this gender, they'll say gender preference, gender identity, gender relation. They'll have to add a term onto the word gender. If they're synonyms, you should just be able to use them interchangeably and not, especially when you're explaining the same type of thing, right? So when I'm looking at things linguistically and I'm trying to define it, I say to myself, when I'm describing an egg, there's only one way I can describe this egg, because that is defined by my term as an egg, just like gender has a definition, and there's only one way to define gender. When I have to go outside of that definition that I know and stretch, I don't understand why people don't question more why they feel that that is necessary. Now, if you want to say that there are two genders with multiple sexual preferences and sexual lifestyles, that's something I'll agree with. That's something I can absolutely see. But a man transitioning to a woman, in my mind, doesn't make them a woman. It makes them a man who identifies as a woman. That's how I look at it. I know that's going to be controversial when I say it, but I'm not going to change my opinion because that's how it is. That's how I feel. This was a person who was born biologically a male. They identify as a woman, which is their right, feel the way that they feel, did all the necessary surgeries. But unfortunately, you are just, in my mind, forever going to be a man who feels that they were a woman because you were born that way. One thing that can never be changed is our biological gender. You can change anything you want. You can feel any way you feel after you're born. But when you're born, you are deemed a gender based on certain things. And for us to say that those two things are separate or try to give them different definitions, in my mind, is something that this doesn't stick for me. Just doesn't stick for me. Which brings me to the next argument that a lot of people usually have. Well, a lot of people who argue that there are multiple genders, 68, more than that, who cares? Here's the argument. Gender identity is on a continuum. It's not just the male-female gender binary. There's a spectrum of gender identity. Once again, using identity. Most people lie in between the binary is how people feel, with personality traits that relate to gender identity, expression, and biological sex. Gender identity can change over time and it's not fixed. Just because you identify one way at one point in time does not mean you will always choose that identity or that your identity won't shift and evolve. Now, identity obviously entails identifying as, I identify as this, which, like I said, I have no problem with that. The problem that I do have, I should say, is if there are these multiple genders and they are based on identity and how you identify, how many genders are there? Give me a number, because I can give you my number. My number is 2. Now, I need you to give me a number. And you're saying, so why do you need to give me a number? Well, if I need to know how to address you, I need to know how to understand you. You need to know how to carry on in life. People need to know how to categorize you when you move throughout. When you fill out any form, there's that sex. There's male, female. When you apply for a job, male, female. There's a non-binary section that covers everything now. But when you open this up to just what I identify or how I feel that day, that opens the door to so many dangerous things. Don't believe me? Well, have you ever heard of any men who were imprisoned and suddenly identified as women and then were transferred to women's prisons and then got those women pregnant? You ever heard those stories? I'm pretty sure you have. They're not uncommon. They happen all the time. And that's because this guy felt that he wanted to identify as a female. They granted him that. Not just did they grant him that, but to grant his wishes because of the society that we are living in right now and how quickly negative can happen if you're anti. They transferred him to a female prison and he got females pregnant. If you don't give a standard for how the genders, or there should at least be some form of set of rules that are followed before a gender can be established as such. Certain criteria that a person has to meet. And these criteria, unfortunately, have to be more than just feelings. They can't be based on feelings. Now, if you ask me what a man is, I could tell you a man is somebody who was born with a penis. They have a certain bone density, a certain muscle mass, certain athleticism or certain strength is natural to men. I can define it with things other than my feelings. If I were to ask any of these people with these outside genders or who live these, like I said before, how I would define it, these live alternate lifestyles. If I was to ask them how to define without using feelings, how do you think they'd go about doing that? Huh? I just want to know. How do you think they would answer that question? Don't use feelings. Don't tell me how you feel or how you identify. Instead, tell me something biological, something that can be proven with science because I have no choice but to go by those things. That's how we define it. It's a medical field. The medical field is not based on feelings. Imagine going into a doctor and you asking the doctor, is this bump, is it cancerous? And he goes, you know what? Feels like it might be. And that was the end of the diagnosis. He just felt that way. It's a feeling. Would you believe him? Would that be something you would take into your heart? I don't think you would. So when we say that I identify as, we have to be very careful because it opens the door for people to identify as anything that they want. What if I came to you one day and I said, hey, from now on, I identify as an N-word. I obviously can say the word, but I'm not sure YouTube will allow this video to go on if I say the word. So I now identify as the N-word with the hard ER. So when you address me with the pronoun N-word, hard ER, every time. And if you don't do it, I'm going to see it as disrespectful and aggressive. I'm going to see it as you're anti.
Salute to Clayton Bixby.
Okay, Friday's back in the building. But do you understand where I'm going with this? Do you see what I'm saying? How this door is open, this dangerous door? And it gets even more convoluted when the people who want to stand on what they believe, such as myself, such as the hetero traditional family believer, if we were to stand on that, then we're instantly aggressive, we're instantly attacking, we get punished, we get canceled, we get fired from jobs, right? There's a story that I heard of a doctor who had a patient who came in, who transitioned. In their mind, nothing had changed in their body. So they just walked in normally. They wanted the doctor to address them by the new pronoun. The doctor said, no, I would rather just address you by your name. They got offended and complained. That doctor lost his license. How am I even supposed to know what pronoun to call you if you don't even know how many genders there really are because they're so continuous and there's such a large spectrum? You have to be able to narrow it down. So this is my question to all the people who believe in this. How many genders are there? And I need you to be able to describe each one of them without you describing a feeling. I need something biological. I'm going to need something scientifically proven.
Can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Or ask the room a question. I know that there's homophobic, right? Does that term exist? Is there a term that exists for the hetero community, like heterophobic?
I'm sure there is.
Is there a way to say something against, like, what would be the slur, like, without, like, demonetizing the video? Like, what would be the slur that you can use to go against, like, somebody in the hetero community? Like, whatever monetization, you woman fucker?
Yeah.
Like, what, like, I don't know, what can you say to offend, like, one of us?
I think that whole concept is looked at as if people were to say you're being racist towards a white person.
There's a couple of them.
It's just.
I don't think there's one specifically for that one though.
Hold on. It's just. I don't think it's seen as something that's possible because heteros have been running the world for so long. So how can there be that hate towards them? They've already ruled the world. They've already done everything else. We're the minority here.
The heteros are the oppressors.
How can we be attacking the oppressor? Exactly. So that's what I say when I say it's very similar to somebody saying, oh, you're being racist to the white person. And it's like, that doesn't exist. You can't be racist to a white person. It absolutely does exist, but that's cool. Believe whatever you want to believe. Sorry, what were you going to say, Manny?
Yeah, what's the terms? What do they call us?
So heterophobic would be like the main term. It's not like an Oxford dictionary term.
Right.
But according to Wikipedia, according to Wikipedia,
Wicker. I got him on the hard ER for real.
No, it's because the term is breeder, so I combined the two. I put the R in there. So the term is breeder would be the slang term for like slashing down someone who's heterosexual.
Because reproduction is possible with a man and a woman. I guess like that's. I don't see how that's an insult, but that's
burn.
That's a good one. That's a good. Did you see any other ones, or that's pretty much?
It's more or less used. It's mainly just that one. It's more or less used for someone who has multiple children. So it's like, oh, you just keep reproducing with different people.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't call us hoes because like you could be a homosexual hoe or a lesbian hoe too. Like if you just sleep with multiple people and you call people hoes for that. That goes across all quote unquote genders and
Right.
walks of life, right?
Right.
We don't. Breeder is all we got, fam.
According to Wikipedia,
Get
yeah.
outta here.
But here's a joke. If I asked you to describe what a hoe was, you could do that without describing feelings as well, right?
Well, that's strictly is supposed to be based strictly on sexuality.
Right. You could
Right.
base that. You could base that on something else. You could base it on something else. What I'm trying to say is, when you're trying to say that there's no end to this, and you can say whatever you want and feel any way you want, and people who are non-binary are to be referred to as they, them. So many problems are arised because if I don't know, first of all, what your gender is, then I don't know what pronoun to call you. If I don't know what pronoun to call you, I don't know that I'm being offensive. If I don't know that I'm being offensive, I'm just going to go by what I know and what I've been taught my entire life. So I don't see how that is deemed as being ignorant. Once again, I go back to my point. If I want to push the opposite agenda in your face now, right? Let's say I want to flip this whole argument around and say what I feel. There are only two genders because that is honestly how I feel. There is male and there is female. Why do you get offended by that so hard? You can still identify as anything you want to identify. Now, the argument that I heard a lot when I was watching these videos is people who are in these positions or identify as these alternate genders that we have, they just want to be recognized and legitimized. And they just want to be accepted for who they are. Here's my response to that. You are being accepted. The problem is you're pushing that exception away because you're forcing it on everybody. And you're not giving people a chance with explanations. If I was to ask a lot of you out of these 68 genders, how many are you familiar with? I doubt it's more than 4, 5, 6, 7. You can't even name all the genders. So how am I supposed to know that? And then second of all, if I don't know all the genders, you don't know all the genders, why should I respect all the genders? If there's a respect factor, you should know what they are, especially if you're pushing for them. If you're one of these people who push for all of these, you have to be able to tell me what all of them are. You have to be able to show the respect for something that you defend so hard. That way, when I come with the alternate position or when I come with something that you don't agree with, you have 2 feet to stand on. Don't hop to me with one leg and try to come at me with a fight. Because I'm telling you, the right hand is strong and I'm left-handed. Understand me. I'm trying to be serious, guys. But it's serious, man. It's really getting to be a problem. Now, let's get to this last argument here. And this we touched on a little bit. And it's that sexuality and gender identity are not the same thing. Gender identity is how you feel about yourself and the ways you express your gender and biological sex. Sexuality refers to who you are emotionally, physically, romantically, or sexually attracted to, she says. In summary, gender is how you feel about yourself, while sexuality is how you feel about others. So they're saying that these two things are completely separate. I don't see how that's possible either, because a lot of these alternate genders are usually defined by a gender being a sexual preference or having a sexual preference for something else. Am I lying? A lesbian is what? A female who's attracted to what? Other females. Am I lying? Am I lying?
Oh, you're good.
A gay man is a man who's attracted to another man. Am I lying? Am I lying?
According to the internet, that's correct.
Are they not using sex to identify the gender as well? Or are they not using gender to identify the sex? My bad. Got it backwards. I'm getting confused. That's exactly what you're doing. By definition, you're using it. So you can't sit here and tell me that the two things are separate. Once again, if gender and gender identity are the same thing, why do I have to keep saying gender identity? Or why do people have to keep using some other term to add on to gender if they're synonyms? If they're the same term, you should be able to just say gender.
Can I add on to that too? Like with us as like heterosexual men, I'm the oldest one in the room, and there's like a lot of people in my generation that are old school, right?
Right.
They're just like, a lot of them aren't trying to change their mind state. But for the ones who are, we make a lot of mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like in the way that we pronounce stuff, and all of us make mistakes.
Right, obviously.
Maybe as a request to the LG community, like, because it's such a new thing, everything, like all these updates are so new and they're always
Updates.
No,
It's like
because
an
they're
Android.
updates.
He's talking gender identity. He's
Oh
an Android now.
Yes, like you have to go
Wow.
check for an update every few months on your phone, aka the internet, and make sure that the terms have been updated. Like there's a new letter in the whole acronym.
Well, yeah.
and everything like that.
The acronym actually has some extra letters that I didn't
Right?
even know about.
So
now, yeah.
because of all these updates, kind of give the hetero community, the breeders, a little bit of grace, so that because we're not aware of the updates, we don't have the app.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just give us some grace.
And that's
Like,
exactly
it's
what
like-
I'm. That's exactly what I'm saying. But okay. So let's say this now. Okay, so like you said, we're all hetero in here, right? If we were to go out on the streets and protest heterosexuality, do you think that would fly? Do you think that would be something that would be
Oh God, no.
received well in this
No.
day and age?
No.
But why not? This is a day and age where we're supposed to have free speech. Free speech entails speech from both sides of the argument. They should both have equal opportunities to state their case. But we're not living in that day and age right now. And that's the problem. And I go back to the gay BCs and these type of books that influence these children. Because what the matrix, what the world is seeing right now is that once you reach a certain age, a la our ages, you've already come to a consensus on who you are and what you feel and how that thing is. Naturally, you've naturally been able to do that. Imagine a world where I can influence young boys to be more feminine and women to be more masculine. What type of world does that create? Now I'm looking at these guys. Now I'm going to look at you. What type of world does that create when now I'm influencing young children to act different from what we naturally know them to do? Well, let me tell you from both sides. First, you have the boys who believe that they are allowed to be more emotional and do all of these things that are naturally deemed towards females. What does that make them? Less of a threat to anybody who's in any form of power, because they're going to be way more compliant. They're going to be way more subjective to influence. And they're going to be way more agreeable. They're going to be able to go to school and go to university and get that job paying that $60K and have no problem with it. With the white picket fence, that'll be their dream because they'll believe that that is what they're supposed to do. There'll be no fight in them. See, when you have a man who's grown up in a different way, there's that hunger in them, that fight. All these celebrities that you guys look up to, if you look at their background story, there was a hunger in them, a fight. They had to go homeless, whatever they had to do, fight out of the mud to get what they had to do. They didn't wait for a handout. They didn't play the lottery. They didn't go to this person or ask that person. They got it themselves. But unfortunately, in this day and age of quick fame, and I can get famous off of Instagram and TikTok, people believe that if I put effort in 2 months into something and it doesn't work, well, then I'm a failure. And I should just move on to something else. And I shouldn't try and struggle with this to see if it's successful. And that's the type of men that are being created. If you don't believe me, look around. How many men do you know talk about their dreams and what they want to do, but then they tried it, they failed it, and they gave up? You ask them, what happened with that? Oh man, I tried that, dog, and it just didn't work out, bro. So then what did you do? Oh, you know what? I had to try something else, man. I had to get, things have to happen. I got to do. Nah, bullshit. Bullshit, man. If you want to make it happen, you can make it happen, but that's the men. Now, let's get to the female side. What is the benefit of society creating women who are more masculine? Well, when these women who are now getting into these positions of power get into these positions, they can be influenced by men who are higher than them a lot easier than a man in that position could. If I am the CEO of a company, and let's be honest, the CEO is not the most powerful person in the company. You better do your research. Chairman of the board, founders, directors, all them things, They tell the CEO what to do. The CEO makes decisions based shareholders. CEO makes decisions based on a whole lot of other people. So what better thing or what better world to live in where people believe that more women should be in these positions? Now I can put a woman in this position. I can influence her a lot easier. And you're saying to yourself, Dre, that's sexist. How are you going to tell me that I can influence a female more than I can influence a man? She's just as strong, da-da-da-da-da. Not physically. Not physically. There's a lot of intimidation that can be done to a female by a man that doesn't have to involve even touching them or anything emotional. There's a lot of things that cannot be done to another man for threat of an attack back on you. And men, when they get their revenge, play the game just like other men do. Why would I want to go against an adversary like that? Women play their revenge more based on emotions. And when you play the revenge game based on emotions with somebody who already has more power than you, influence and strategy, you're going to lose every single time. Why would I not want that to be somebody who you're supposed to, who the world sees as somebody who now is supposed to be in that position? I want that. So that's what's being created with books like this. That's why when you say to me, there's a bunch of genders and all this, I say bullshit. I say society can tell you whatever they want to tell you. If you come up to me and you say to me that I am non-binary and I want to be referred to as they or them, I'm going to tell you, sorry. What's your name? Because that's what I'm going to call you. This they, them shit, that's not happening with me. I don't apologize for that. Why is it not happening with me? Because like I said, y'all can't even tell me how many genders they are. I don't know what pronoun to call nobody. If I'm going to call you by your right pronoun, I want to know all of them. I want to be able to know all of them so I can call why do I have to show you respect, but I don't know this person's gender and identity or their pronouns, so I don't have to call them by that? No, come on, dog. And if I don't know and you tell me what it is, just as you have the right to feel like I have to call you by that, me with my beliefs and the way I feel, just like the way I got to respect your beliefs and the way you feel, we're both respecting each other. I believe that I don't have to call you that because I don't have those same beliefs that you do, that there is a they, them. I don't. I use they, them as an example. I'm sure there's more pronouns. I don't know all of them. So I have to use the one outside of the normal ones that I do know. This is about respect. And unfortunately, respect is a two-way street. Society has you seeing it as one way. I can only speak this way. It's all Influence Friday's decision because I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, for those who are watching earlier, still with us, first of all, thank you. But you heard him. I know what his real answer wanted to be. But he's so subconsciously influenced by the world that is around him that he's not even on camera. He doesn't even want to give his answer for real. Come on. This is real. This is real.
These are the express views and opinions of Tracy and Tracy.
Hey, listen, I told you I was going to come with the hotness. I can't wait for the clips
Tag
on
a
this
disclaimer
one.
across the screen right now.
Going to be real. Now, to conclude, this is one more argument that I heard, and it's so ridiculous that I didn't have to give it much time. Some people will say that there are other cultures out there, Indian and other cultures, that naturally have other genders in it. So because they have it, why can't we just adopt these things as well? The reason why this is ridiculous is because those same cultures also have cannibalism, slavery, child labor, and exploitation. So should we follow those things as well? You don't get to pick and choose when you say a culture does this. You don't get to pick and choose what part of the culture you use and what part of the culture you don't use. If you're going to tell me that a culture does something, then we're going to adopt everything that culture does. And that includes the treatment of women in those countries as well. So think about that before you give an answer. Now, if I wasn't clear, the question was, how many genders are there? My answer is there's only two. You've heard my responses. You've heard my compadres, how they feel about it. I want to know how y'all feel. And I definitely want to do something else with this where I'm speaking to people about it. We have somebody in the room, but listen to my arguments and make sure that you have responses for them first, because everything that I have is based on biology, is based on scientific, is based on factual articles and videos that I showed you of things that are really going on. So don't come to me with your feelings and emotions, because I'm going to tell you that day that I identify as a kickboxer, and I'm going to slap you in your fucking face.
Quick thing.
I identify as.
I think it would be a good idea in the future, maybe, people in the comments, hey, anybody want to reach out, join the panel? Anybody from the LG, maybe a 100%. Transgender person, because you're giving your points here. Us two, we're just like, we're giving our opinions and stuff like that. But like, there's no counterpoints from that community to be able to be
all I have is the counterpoints that I found based on videos and research that I have. Yeah.
Right. So in the end of the day, like when anybody wants to get offended, like they, it come in and have the conversation.
Hey, that's a good thing that you said that. Anybody that wants to get offended at this, first of all, leave it in the comments. Go ahead, do that. Let me know what you feel offended about. I will have a discussion with you in the comments if you are calm and you're logical. You know what I'm saying? Once it gets to personal and you don't even know who I am, the conversation is going to be done. But if you are offended by this, imagine how I feel as a heterosexual with my beliefs being forced to conform to these things because of people out there that live in this community and what they'll do to me and all this stuff. Imagine how I'm feeling coming to do this video as I'm driving here, knowing what my topic is, feeling that I need to censor myself, which is something I never do. Manny knows.
The abusive spouse,
I never said Friday's learning. I never censor myself. I say how I feel. Imagine me coming here feeling like I needed to censor myself because of the way the world is, not because of my own. I know what I believe. And it shouldn't be allowed that I'm not able to speak that. It's not me attacking. It's not me being aggressive. Like I said, I did my research on this one. So I thank y'all once again. This is an episode of What It Is. Let me know what it is, man. I don't even know how to end this one, guys, honestly, because this is just one of these things where I know there's going to be a bunch of hot takes. And we're going to see how this goes, man. I don't know. Man. I don't know.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh.